Number 3, Bill.
Yeah, number 3 today, Mark, and we've actually got another podcast coming up this afternoon, which is
What's the technical term? Podded out? I'm not sure.
Who knows? You can call us anything, can't you? But and today's interview is really interesting because it touches on education in Geelong.
Very important.
We're talking about Northern Bay College out in Corio. And it's a fascinating story led by Scott, your title is Executive Principal. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so, first of all, welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Bill.
Scott
Thanks,
Diamond. But can you just explain I picked up that title off the internet, and it's not just you're not just a principal of a school. You're a principal of a damn big business, in actual fact.
Yeah,
when you look at it.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, Northern Bay is a pretty unique school, and particularly in Geelong. Northern Bay is a 5-campus school with 4 prep to 8s, sort of on each point of a square, around Norlane and Corio, and Goldsworthy sort of sitting in the middle of those points.
Yeah.
And Goldsworthy has on site the Geelong Industry Trade Training Centre, which is students from all schools across Geelong utilise. Across a number of different trades, including hospitality, engineering, auto, building construction, and then also on the Goldsworthy site we've got our early learning centre, a family learning centre. So it's a birth to onwards.
Haven't started the funeral business yet?
No, we haven't.
Alumni funerals?
No,
So it's an
that's
education precinct. Then.
Well, it really is, and I think it came together as part of a regeneration project back in just towards the end of 2010. The conversations began to merge a number of the primary and secondary schools around the area. Regeneration projects were a bit of a thing there with the Victorian government. And interestingly, I was involved in one at Keysborough College at the time, and was a campus principal of a couple of campuses out there. So saw the regeneration project at the time of regeneration. And then to come here in 2020, along with COVID, to be in a school that had been regenerated, and was really interesting to be on the other side of that. So so it is. It's a pretty comprehensive
What's the size of the student population?
Yeah, 1,800 students.
And the staffing population?
Yeah, the staffing bodies. I mean, we've got probably 500 individuals that work here. Across the week, and so some of them will be 2 or 3 days, and obviously the majority at full time, and that's across obviously the teaching, admin, principal class, and leading teachers, but also our education support staff. We've got one in every classroom. Really comprehensive wellbeing, a disability inclusion team across the college. And a few specialist programs across the school with
And Mark,
it's a big business.
Who would know 500 people? Bigger than most companies.
I wouldn't have picked 1,800 students either. I would have thought around 1,000, 1,200.
And
That's
Scott, in
phenomenal.
that, you've got a number of principals that report to you who run each unit. How many of those?
Yeah, so we've got probably 13 in our principal class. So each of the campuses has at least 2. So a couple of the bigger campuses have 3 principal class. And then we also have an education support staff member who sits probably at that principal level, leading our wellbeing team. Our business manager is at the top of the education support class team. As you could imagine, with all those people comes a pretty big set of budgets. And then we also have
budgets and responsibilities.
Yeah, and then we have another assistant principal in disability inclusion, which is probably a really good example of the growth in funding that Victorian schools have, particularly Victorian government schools, have enjoyed over the last period of time, beginning with, what was, some of the Gonski reforms with the equity funding in Victorian schools, but then sort of moving into a greater set of funding for inclusion in government schools.
Now, I was just going to... I'll go first. Now we've painted that picture.
Yep.
Let's start about you. So where was your primary school? I think that's what Bill was going to ask.
So my primary school started in Torquay. So I was at Torquay Primary. when it was on Boston Road there. So before it moved out to Grossman's Road.
Did they have electricity in Torquay in those days?
They sure did. Yeah, no, they did.
In fact, we'll get to it in a minute. But you've done a full circle, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I can still remember Ash Wednesday. So sitting up on the back of our house watching the sky turn red. Yeah. So, so I was there till probably grade 2 or 3, and then we moved up to South Melbourne. My old man was in pubs, and so we had a couple of pubs in South Melbourne, and so we moved up there.
I've probably drunk in those pubs.
I'm sure you have.
Right.
I'm sure you have.
And high school then?
Ended up at high school after primary in at Christian Brothers College in St Kilda.
Yep.
CBC St Kilda.
CBC St Kilda. Yeah, that's right. So it was interesting. It was all boys school and. Yeah, gee whiz, that's an interesting sort of stuff.
Have they merged with the old presentation across the road?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they're formally merged, but
presentation closed down. But
we definitely did classes with them even when I was there. You'd walk across the overpass there on Dandenong Road. So it was.
So while you were being. Did you have handball courts?
We did have a handball court,
because I went to St Joey's, you see, as a boarder.
There you go,
early,
there was always handball courts. Every school had handball court.
Irish ones, you see. This is where it comes from.
Never heard of handball, so
and so whilst you're at school, any ambitions?
Always sport. Yeah, sport was always, front and centre, wanting to, like every kid, wanting to do something in sport, and then as you get a bit older and realise that's you're not going to quite cut it. I wanted to do something in sport, so I ended up in a phys ed course at Ballarat, and it had a Bachelor of Education attached to it. So teaching was never sort of in the mindset. I thought I'll do that and then sort of maybe move into something a bit more sports science, and but. I don't know, after a couple of years, I found that working with young people, with the kids, it was a high school course, came pretty naturally, I guess. Really liked working with kids, and then, finished the degree, and so, I thought I'd do teaching for a couple of years and then get a real job. And
I hear that so often.
Oh, yeah. And what was your passion in sport? What stood out?
Footy and cricket. Yeah, footy and cricket. Yeah, so took Geelong supporting up to Melbourne and then back down here. So we've been pretty lucky the last few years.
So first school?
Our first school to work at was was Debney Park in Flemington. So Debney Park is a tiny little school. It was a tiny little school on Mount Alexander Road. It's now called Mount Alexander College. And we had probably 400 kids. It was right under the flats in Flemington. The flats got closed down during COVID. And the school was was really fortunate to have such an amazing population of first time of refugee students from Southeast Asia and the Horn of Africa were the big groups of students at the school at the time. And coming from we lived in East Bentley when I was going to after we moved from South Melbourne. And then Torquay, and went to uni in Ballarat. So I had a very middle class sort of experience in growing up, and I think without that experience at Debney Park, I'd believe the front page of the Herald Sun and the Current Affair rather than knowing that
there's lots of good there too.
The richness of diversity that that comes in the stories, and very very privileged to have 8 or 9 years working there, and it was a great school, and. And had a really wonderful principal there. So Brett New was one of my principals, or my first principal at Debney Park. And when I went in and said, look, I'm thinking of doing a Master of an MBA. He said, have you thought about a career in education? Anyway, so I was lucky then. There was a program called the Victorian Young Leaders Program, and that's when the department was throwing out cash left, right and centre. So we had a study tour to England, as well as being able to complete a Master's in
Where'd you do that?
Leadership. It was all over England. So we started in London and then got up to Birmingham and a few schools in between, so in York. And Oxford area. So we visited probably 5 or 6 schools around that, through that time, and attended their principal conference there, and then obviously, through that time was completing the Masters at Melbourne Uni. So, And that was really what sort of, opened up the fact to me that, that there is a career in education. And, I think I was probably 27, 28 at that time. And then, really quickly after that, got an assistant principal role out at Morty Alley. And was there for 4 or 5 years, and so a bit of a quick stop there. And again, another really, sort of a really unique principal there with Lorraine Harris, who had she'd been in the school for 20 odd years, and had an amazing capacity to be able to drive, really strong pedagogy, and so she was the one who really sort of demonstrated to me the importance of a really strong pedagogical framework if you're going to lead a school. And my whole sort of philosophy has been based on a lot of the work that Lorraine led with us, which was around empowering students to do things for themselves. And her big catch cry was, don't do things for kids that they can do for themselves. And we often fall into that trap as teachers of doing too much, and then kids will fall into that. It's a bit like raise the bar sort of.
So Scott, you've had good mentors. This is what I'm hearing about.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
That's right. How did you end up at Torquay? Because that was a brand new school.
Yeah, so after Morty, I spent a couple of years out at Keysborough, which was that regenerated school, and I guess through that time our kids were, we had 2 kids there, and they were getting closer to sort of 3-4-year-old, and the house that we had in East Bentley was lovely, but was getting too small. We were going to need to do something, and it was either spend big dollars doing that or move back down to Torquay. And my wife's from Bendigo, and I guess I wanted to get him first if we were going to go regional.
I can relate to that story.
So Torquay is a pretty good spot, and so I was really lucky to get there. And just through absolute serendipity, there was a new school that had just been gazetted for Torquay with Surf Coast Secondary College, and that was essentially the demerger of the Torquay P to 9 to separate that into a P to 6 and what would become a new 7 to 12 school. And pretty amazing experience being able to be a principal of a school that was yet to be built. So that was great. So I came down, had 6 months to sort of do a bit of the setup stuff and a bit of early recruitment of staff, and manage that demerger with Pam Kinsman, who was the principal down at Torquay College, and Russell Kohler from Montpellier was the principal who supported me with that work as a project officer. And then we kicked off in 2012 was our first year there. And so we had a couple of years on site there at Grossman's Road, sort of side by side with the school, and then the new facility opened up on White Street there in Torquay, and that was an interesting story as well. There was a bit of conjecture over where the school site was going to be. It was originally going to be opposite.
That's Torquay.
It was originally going to be opposite Woolworths.
Yep.
But then Mrs. White, who owned that set of land there, she was big on education, and she actually rang the department and said, "Look, I haven't subdivided this. You pick where you want these schools, and you can have them at the price of the land valuer." Yeah. So she was pretty amazing, and the school got a really great prominent location next to the Shire Sporting Precinct, and it's just a really good example of somebody who really cares about the community that she's she's
education
been part of for a long time. And then being able to have the school in that spot has set it up to be a really
just
successful
talking about
enterprise.
The selection of new staff in the new school. Tell us a bit about that process. What are the lessons you learned about that?
Yeah, well, it's just the people factor.
Yeah.
To apply for a job in a school, in a Victorian government school, you've got to do a set of selection criteria. So it ends up being a 14-page document you submit. Just to apply for a job, so it's a really significant piece of work. But underneath that is a person who's submitting that, and we worked out really quickly that if we were going to have these teachers and staff come in that were going to work with young people, we needed really good people.
So what values or criteria were you from a personality point of view?
Yeah,
what were you looking for?
Yeah, that really strong sort of team aspect. Really keen to be part of a team. a bit of moral purpose.
Yes.
That that I'm here to support these young people to growth. A really strong growth mindset was another one, and something else that's a really important part of teaching is a really strong sense of unconditional positive regard, because kids and teens and young people. Like all of us, we're going to get it wrong sometimes, and as the adults in the room, we've got to remain the adult in the room and just understand that.
That's right. We must move on, Mark, because I want to get to some other things.
Yep.
But so, were you tapped on the shoulder to come here?
No,
or did you apply for it?
Yeah, and I applied. You had to went through the process, and I'd been down at Surf Coast for 8 or 9 years. 9 years, I think, by the time it come up, and. Yeah, it was time for a change. I live in Torquay. My son was at the school. My daughter was about to come in. She's just finishing year 12 at the moment, and the town was just getting just a little bit small. So it was important to maybe separate work and home life a little bit. So and I didn't want to go to another same school, because there's a lot of 7 to 12 schools in Geelong, and this is the only P to 12 in Geelong. There's a multi-campus out at Bellarine, but this is the only multi-campus P to 12. Interesting, when I was at Keysborough, I said I'll never do another multi-campus again because they're hard work. But anyway, you find yourself here. So I went through the application process and was really fortunate to have the trust put in me to take on the role, because Fred Clark was the principal here, the founding principal at Northern Bay, and he's still connected to the school through our philanthropic arm, the Northern Bay Challenge, and he's just such a champion of the 3214 postcode and the opportunities for young people.
Is that the thing that Keith Fagg's on?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Because Mark and Mark used to work for Keith.
Yeah, okay.
He was the CEO at Fags Mitre 10.
Oh, wow.
And we did a podcast with him only 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Oh, no, that's interesting.
Is there a clear succession plan in the education department for principals, or it's just you see a vacancy and apply? It is that. I mean, the department's put a lot of work into principal preparation and to leadership into leadership development. And there's been a really strong bell curve for a long time in principal roles. So there's been a really strong understanding that we need to develop. And the role of principal has become more and more complex and more and more overarching over the time that I've done it. So I've been a principal now in principal class for close to 20 years, and the role of the principal has gone from just being sort of the leader of the school to being, as you said, sort of along with the business manager, sort of managing finance.
In commercial terms, or out in industrial land, you would be the managing director.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of bits and pieces.
So if I went and asked your principals, and Mark and I interviewed them one-on-one, what's Scott's leadership style like? What response do you think we would get?
I don't know if you've seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's, but I think.
So just remember, they're listening to this, by the way.
There'd be an element of that. I think they'd think, that they move the arms and I'm just the puppet. I'm just their puppet, So, I'm very fortunate to have a really strong team, and I've always benefited from principals who put trust in the work that that I've been involved in, and. You employ people into positions for a reason, because of their capacity and their ideas that they bring to a role. So I'm not completely hands off, but I would say that I'm quite trusting and supportive of them. Taking risks with obviously educated risks with the work that they want to lead. Hopefully they would say that I've got their back when they need it, and there's a lot of times you need it in principal roles. Yeah. So they'd probably be the things I'd like to think that.
How often would you catch up with the team?
We catch up with the campus prins once a week. Yeah. So they're the leaders of the campuses. The PCOs we're trying to we get a structure maybe 2 or 3 times a term where we get together as a larger group. But there's a lot of work to do on campus, and it's difficult to pull them out of that work, that day-to-day work. But yeah, definitely as the campus principals, what we call the executive leadership team.
So it's like running a business. It's exactly like running a. But do you ever get the 500 together?
We twice a year.
That's
good. Okay, very good.
So, by the way, Mark, he dodged my question.
He did dodge your question.
But we'll move on.
We get together. So the beginning of the year. So we have we have a welcome event for all of our staff at the start of the year. So 500 staff come in. We put on a bit of a breakfast, and there's a bit of a positive and atmosphere there. And look, there's not a lot of stand up the front rah. It's just a bit of connect, and then every year we definitely put some effort into having our major professional learning day, which is in term 3, where we have a combined focus across the college. So all 500 are there for that day, and that's always pretty amazing to stand up there and have a look at the broad range of staff that we have at our school, and we've had some really great experiences being able to do that.
That's good. I just want to ask you bring it back to the students now.
Yep.
2 issues. One, tell me about the chairs that the men's shed made.
Yeah,
tell that story.
Yeah, so the men's shed, so the Buddy Bench the Buddy Bench program is. I think it's a worldwide program, the Buddy Bench program, and the men's shed. They came on board and hooked up with Cardinia Rotary to give the brawn and the brains and the craftsmanship to design the benches, and the idea of a Buddy Bench, and they sit at each of our Prep to 8 campuses, is that the concept is that if a student is needing someone to look out for them, they need a buddy. They go and sit on that bench, and they might get an adult or another classmate, one of the student leaders who go and look out for them and see that they're there. It's a symbolic sort of, hey, give me a chop out, and it's a really great concept, and sticks really well with that that whole idea that I think is really important, that we've got to teach people how to do, and rather than sort of saying I can't. The Buddy Bench is an example of, I need a hand, so I'm going to go do this and make a proactive step.
All right,
great concept.
My second request is, I came out here the other morning for Rotary breakfast, and you presented 3 outstanding students to present. Could you just run through those 3 students and what they mean to you and the school? Yeah,
so Cardinia Rotary, we're very, very fortunate to be one of Cardinia Rotary's main beneficiaries of support, and have been for a number of years now. So it's pretty amazing for a school to be that. And Northern Bay has been really fortunate to have that strong connection with the team there. And last week we had the Cardinia Rotary breakfast meeting, which was held in our staff room here at the Goldsworthy campus, and we had 3 of our students come along and do a bit of a presentation on themselves a little bit, and also on what their aspirations are sort of moving forward. And we had our 2 school captains this year, so Aliaga Walizada. He's a pretty amazing young man,
and where's he from?
He's from Afghanistan.
That's right.
Yeah, sort of originally, and he came along and he's obviously he's got an amazing sense of gratitude, and I think that really came through strongly. Spoke about the work that he's done in the school, and one of the really amazing things he did was he's part of the Hazara community of Geelong. And they sponsor a school in Kabul. So we actually had a video link with students in the school in Kabul, speaking to students here in Northern Bay in Goldsworthy Road, which was a pretty amazing thing. And to sit there and we let the kids go for it for a while. But that was pretty amazing. So Ali has been a great, and will leave a great legacy of service at our school.
And came out of a refugee camp.
That's right. Yes, that's right. And so Fazana Aref Mohammed she's our other school captain, and she spoke. She'd been supported by Cardinia Rotary for the National Youth Science Forum. And she then parlayed that into a spot at the NASA Space Camp.
I saw
in Houston.
that. Yeah, okay.
So she got there. She got there last year, which is just
that's amazing,
unbelievable, and
presents well too.
Presents amazing.
Yeah, just full of confidence.
Just a lovely,
and good at maths and science. I assume.
Yeah, just a real strong passion for her work, and she, again, she Afghan background and has come through to the school. And only been in Australia for a couple of years, so.
2 years and she's kept on the school.
Yeah, just amazing.
How's that? Yeah.
And then, interesting, her brother Mehdi was there too, and he spoke because he's also a beneficiary of the National Youth Science Forum. So Fazana did that a couple of years ago, and Mohammed will do it in January this year. So, really good example of, I guess, the connection that we have with Cardinia Rotary. But one of the things we're really proud of our kids is that they've got a really strong sense of aspiration, that's through our entire school. We, the kids, they lean in, they take opportunities, more so than I've seen in many schools, and I think that's a really amazing asset, and just speaks to their strength of character, and as I said before, that really strong growth mindset.
Yeah, and given that this area of Geelong for many years was considered, a low economic, socio-economic area, which it was.
Yep.
And how you've been able to put all this together, and to see those 3 students stand up there with such confidence, it's got to be a reflection of what else is going on in the school.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that the school is full of 500 people with really, really high moral purpose. There are complexities that happen in every school every day, and we're no different. And our teachers come back every single day with that unconditional positive regard, and also the structures that the school's put in place for a long time to develop to support students to access opportunities. Our specialist sports program, SEED, has been going around for a long time, and a lot of schools have got the specialist sports program now, but I'd be pretty confident to say that Northern Bay was the first one to have it, well before I got here. And Ben Lowry and Stufaluri sort of they do lead that program, and that goes all the way through to our grade 5s and 6s, and all the way through to our year 12 students. And we'll introduce an extended SEED program next year, where students will get additional coaching in volleyball and badminton. So we're really excited to get, and soccer, to get that underway.
What's your art and cultural program like?
Yeah, so the I guess the secondary the program alongside SEED is a program called Impact, and that's our performing arts and visual arts program. And again, just exposes students to some opportunities that they would never have before. And it's actually led to us last year being able to introduce VCE drama onto our curriculum. We've got a really strong visual arts program, and the school has for a long time. But being able to have being able to have performing the drama subject on VCE has been amazing, and we saw their production pieces this year, and they've done an outstanding job. And one of the students in that group has already got her bachelor for performing arts already tied up for next year. So which is cool. Amazing.
Very cool.
Amazing.
Is it easy to get teachers? Hard to get teachers?
It's easier this year than what it has been in the past few years. Yeah, so it had been incredibly difficult since COVID.
And is that
difficult
because less people are taking teaching as a profession?
Yeah, definitely. And it's still incredibly difficult the further away we get from the regional and metro centres. But we're very, very happy with the group of staff that we've been able to attract here over the number of years, and but it's still not easy, but there's definitely a need for further investment in teaching courses.
Of course. And do you do the selection? Someone wants you do the interviewing, or do your principals interview as well?
Yeah, we share that around.
Share
we definitely share that around. We do it as a college though, which I think is an important point. If a campus has got a vacancy, and another campus has got the same vacancy, then they'll run the same panel. Which I think is important that we identify as one college, and one of the one of the catch calls that has been around the school for a long time is that one college, one team ethos, and that's something that is really, it can be very difficult to maintain, because on a daily basis you're turning up to the same address, but having our cross-college teams, those horizontal layers, has really helped us be able to continue that.
Do people then move between campuses if need be? Like if you've got a vacancy over there and someone said, well, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, and definitely more so for promotional opportunities.
Yeah,
good.
Okay.
Scott, what do you think about when you drive to work in the morning? Remembering you're coming up a highway that's getting busier and busier.
Yeah.
So what do you think about?
What do I think about? Sometimes might be the challenge of the day. Definitely. And in some ways, I sort of use the drive to compartmentalise and decompress a little bit. So. But the way to work is generally pretty positive. It's a good place to come to work every day. I mean, you met those 3 young people last week, and we've got another 1,797 of them, and they're all pretty amazing. So you definitely think about the kids and the opportunities that we've got there. And one of the great things that we've been able to do the last few years is we've probably got 25, I reckon. Very recent graduates working at the school, either in traineeships, or in classroom support, which I think has been really special for us. Yeah.
By the way, someone answered that question to me one day in Melbourne in a different situation, and they said, "I just want to turn around and go home." So
there's definitely days like that.
So to wrap up, Scott, I mean, we do this from a business perspective, this podcast.
Yeah.
What can the business community do to support you and your work here?
Well, it's pretty good timing, actually. We have as I said, Fred Clark and Keith as well, and Kerry Woodman, who's from the Cardinia Rotary, are all members, along with a few others, of our Northern Bay Challenge Committee, and that was started to ensure that students in 3214 in our postcode have opportunities to do whatever they want to do in life. So, fill those gaps of opportunity that sit outside of school. So, we've had a wonderful benefactor of that challenge over a number of years, and he's given us a challenge at the challenge to. He's said if you can raise $75,000 by the end of the year, he will match that. Now that's no mean feat.
That's no mean feat.
But financial support is definitely something that money has gone into is building a corpus for us, which allows us to run our scholarship programs, our alumni program, and also our holiday wellbeing camps that we run out at our camp at Staunton Vale, which is another campus that I forgot to mention of the school. So it's a pretty important factor. The other thing that business can do is be really aware of the strong young people that are coming out of this school. We're always looking for student-friendly work experience opportunities. We're always looking for employees who are looking to take a chance on young trainees and apprentices, and so really that strengthening of network for our young people is really important too, because one of the most important things you have in your world are the people that you have networked with, and adolescents, they're just starting to develop those networks. So the quicker we can get them networked, the better. The better the better they can fall.
I think that's been fantastic.
Well, we have to wind up because we're going to run out of tape.
We'll run out of juice.
Out of juice.
So, Scott, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
It was a pleasure to meet you. And I now understand the success of this school because the leadership's fantastic.
That's right.
So thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Bill.